Hi everyone, it's the Gaming Geezer back at it again. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the biggest questions surrounding Civilization 7. Is the new Ages concept going to ruin the game? And if you've been following the leaks and previews of Civ 7, you know this mechanic is coming with some very, very major changes to the fundamental aspects of Civilization. But are they actually improvements, or are we looking at a system that might cause more player fatigue than ever before? Let's find out. Now, if you're anything like me, Civ 6 had some serious highs, especially in the early game. The early turns felt fresh, with new discoveries, new civs, tribal rewards, settling locations, and you had this sort of rush of strategy unfolding as you started to figure out where you would expand, which city-states to ally with, or whether or not you'd need to go to war with a neighbour. The possibilities felt endless. After a few hours of gameplay, things start to slow down. That excitement starts to fade as the maps filled up and your strategy becomes set in stone. The next few hours would often feel like you were just waiting for your civilization to hit the mid-game and late-game stages, and the pace could feel a little stale. The fatigue was real. You could see the end game looming in the distance, but you're just sort of going through the motions, turn after turn after turn, to get to the point where you just want to finish the game and start a new one and get all of those nice dopamine hits again from all of the different discoveries you're making early in the game. So in Civ 7, the new Ages system promises to shake things up. The idea that each age isn't just a time period you transition from one age to the next. Things actually physically change on the map. We reveal new civs, independent states you hadn't seen before, and it gives you a fresh sort of sense of discovery once again. But here's the catch: your cities and infrastructure from the previous age can lose their adjacency bonuses and might even end up reverting back to towns. And I can't help but feel this might give you the feeling of undermining everything you had worked for in the previous age. But on the other hand, this could be a cool way of introducing new dynamics into the game. Suddenly you're back to exploring and discovering new lands, competing for resources. But on the other hand, I could see how this would be a moment that would be quite demotivating for a lot of players. What was all the point of the effort in the last age? Not only is the map being changed and my cities being changed, but my civilization is also being changed, and that's another major rubbing point for players. A lot of players want to pick one civ they find super cool, take them throughout the ages. You like that civ for certain reasons. Maybe you like their unique unit, maybe you like them historically, maybe you just feel like playing that particular civ that day. And then there's the crisis phase, which reminds me a lot of Civ 6 Dark Age mechanics. You could mitigate the Dark Ages by earning era score, but that was sort of something you could influence. But in Civ 7, the crisis phase is a sort of phase all players here. It comes with negative penalties, and then you transition into the new era. But I worry players could feel they're doing everything right and still getting penalised. If we're talking about moments where players just want to start a new game at that point, or don't want to continue, it feels like that would be the moment you'd be like, oh, I'm having a bad time in the Antiquity era. I'm already thinking about, starting a different game or leaving this particular game. And then you're hit with, these crisis penalties. There sounds like a time where a lot of players will simply say, well, I've had enough now. However, the age system also does bring a sort of sense of feeling of second start, another new start, and that is really what I feel is at the core of their game design philosophy towards this game. They want players to have that fresh feeling, that new start feeling, but does it come at the expense of diminishing what they had already done in the previous ages? They do go some way to making sure that even though you are picking a new Civ, you very much have the identity of the previous Civ ingrained into your new Civ as you build up and go through the ages. You keep certain policy cards from the Antiquity era, and it kind of gives you an opportunity to sort of strategically pivot your strategy. Maybe I'm playing as Egypt and I realise my neighbours are a definite and immediate threat. I've had access to horse resources and I can transition into Mongolia. Mongolia are quite a special civilization in the sense that they gain domination victory points for also capturing cities within their same lands, whereas some cities we've seen don't. So that gives me an opportunity to sort of solidify what I feel is my most likely win condition based on the situations I find myself within. And there's more positives. Civ 7 does bring some cool ideas to the table. The legacy point system, for example, looks like it could help give each age some direction as well as structure towards the win conditions. This might help mitigate the snowballing problem where a player can get way ahead or way behind, which I would say is another really big reason why only half of players ever actually finish a game. You know, if you're way ahead, it's boring. If you're way behind, it's frustrating. So the age mechanic kind of gives players a bit of a reset. Again, we have to ask, is that at the expense of feeling like your previous efforts are somehow being diminished? I mean, I would have to get my hands on the game and really play it for a period of time to actually understand how that would feel. But they say each era takes 2 to 4 hours depending on game speed, I imagine. So you might very well feel ready for something fresh by that time. And that just comes down to game feel. And once I get my hands on the game and experience it, I might find that these concerns are waylaid, and I'll be doing a full first impressions review at that time. And we've also found they're tackling one of the other major problems in the game, in which I think arguably a lot of players would say the navy aspect of the game wasn't as fleshed out or as important. That's not to say ships weren't powerful, because having an early frigate or something like that was very useful for a domination victory. But now they're also playing into an economic sort of game. As you explore new lands in the exploration era, you're rewarded by finding certain treasure resources. You can control these resources by making a settlement and then send a treasure fleet back to your original lands to gain a boon. But then you're also at the mercy of anyone else who wants to engage with that. Maybe they want to take your treasure fleets from you, and it gives the naval aspect of the game poignancy for more than just one victory condition then at that point. Bearing in mind the religious victory has been taken out of the game and been replaced by the economic victory. So this gives players a whole new avenue for expansion and strategy, and it's a nice change of pace, especially if you're the type of player who loves the early game rush of exploration and discovery. So will Civ 7's new ages concept ruin the game? Honestly, it's still hard to say. The developers are clearly trying to address some major core issues with Civilization 6. Player fatigue leading to only half the players ever finishing a game is something that I can understand why the developers want to tackle. But I'm really concerned that in doing so they risk losing some of the things we loved about the franchise in the process. And players have to accept one crucial fact: the core identity of Civilization is changing. It wants to be more fun, it wants to be more engaging for longer, and more direct in its route to win conditions. It's hard for players to accept such fundamental changes, but it comes with some enormous upsides as well. Overall, I personally think it comes down to game feel. How will it feel once I've played 3-4 hours of an age and I change my civ and I get ready to embark into the exploration age? Will it feel exciting and natural, or frustrating and shoehorned? Time will tell on release, but in my opinion, it's looking really hopeful. But that's just my take. What do you think? Are you excited about the new changes mechanic? Are you worried it's going to ruin the experience? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content on Civ 7 as we get closer to release. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.